Hello guys, welcome to Crypto Villa channel. I'm Caio Villa speaking direct from Brazil in order to make you guys know the news in crypto. Well, today, first of all, I'd like to remember you guys, if you didn't yet, please subscribe to my channel and like the video, okay? Also, follow me on Twitter as well. Today, we have a very special guest, the CEO, Michael Wagner, the CEO of Star Atlas. And, and just to make a small introduction about the project, Star Atlas is a kind of a multiplayer online game, right? In the metaverse centered around the space exploration, territorial conquest, and political domination. I'm very curious about this. And it is built on Solana ecosystem. I'm also curious about this. Well, so let's invite Michael Wagner.
Crypto Villa.
Hello, Wagner.
Hey man,
Thanks
how
so
are you?
much for coming here. Good, and you?
Great. Yeah, I just finished retweeting your tweet about the live AMA. So hopefully we can attract some additional people to the show.
Yes, please. And thank you so much. It's a big pleasure, as you guys know, and you are my first guest here, and it's a big honor for me. And okay, let's start the interview. That's what the people want to see. Right.
Well, hey man, it's an honor to be your first guest as well. I'm happy to be the one to kick this off with you.
Oh, thank you so much. So, first of all, I'd like to introduce about Star Atlas, what Star Atlas is about, for the people that didn't hear yet about the game, understand a little more about it.
Sure. Yeah, so I mean, you gave a great introduction, kind of a high-level overview during my introduction, but as you noted, Star Atlas is a space-themed or space opera, massively multiplayer online game. This is a video game and metaverse concept. Now we are developing this out to the highest tier of quality standards, a so-called AAA caliber game. The intention here is to deliver a final product that is attractive to a mainstream audience. We want to be able to engage the world and entertain the world with this video game. Now we enhance that experience by incorporating a number of different financial incentives via blockchain. So everything from all of the assets that are owned in game are truly individually owned by all the players as NFTs, as non-fungible tokens. So things like your ship and your crew and components, land, buildings, structures, all of these things, virtually everything in the metaverse is an NFT owned by someone, owned by a player. In addition to that, we have two crypto native assets in the metaverse, the first of which is Atlas. This is the in-game transactional currency. It's effectively the in-game gold. You will use this for all things like any purchasing of consumables or repairing a ship or refueling a ship or upgrading items that you have, any of your land claims that you're building upon and you need to upgrade, you will use Atlas for those purposes. Additionally, it is the primary reward mechanism within the game. So all of the activities that you're performing. So if you're mining, right, or if you're exploring space, if you're a data runner, if you're a cargo hauler, all of these things, the primary reward mechanism is to distribute Atlas over time to those players. In addition to that, we have Polis, which is our take on a governance token. So it has dual purpose itself within the game. Polis leads to this political strategy component of the game, wherein by owning Polis, you can dominate regions of space. You can essentially be the politician in that region of space, and then you can do things like impose taxes on other players. You can set some degree of rules and law or fines and fees in the regions that you control. Now, outside of the game, Polis is primarily functions like a traditional DAO token with governance rights. So holders of Polis will be able to influence long-term game development decision-making processes. So submitting proposals on things like the economy, right? The asset release schedule, the inflation schedule, feature development requests, and even product requests. So determining, what is the next asset that we build in the game and release to the players. And then on top of that, the final piece of the puzzle here is the incorporation of DeFi directly into the game. So you're actually able to participate in AMMs, right? Automated market making, or liquidity pools. And then one of the coolest features that I think is really promising is the idea of a lending pool. So players that own assets, or individuals that own assets in Star Atlas are able to contribute those to a lending pool when they're not in use. Now, another player can actually rent those. They can lease those out for a period of time, go into the metaverse and use them, earn some revenue, earn some income for themselves. And the idea there, their objective would be to earn a net profit off of the time spent in game. So it's kind of a win-win for everybody. The player that's borrowing it spends a little bit of money, hopefully makes a little bit more in the game. They also get to engage in the game. And then the person who's lending the assets gets this residual income stream off of something that they own. So we can get a bit more into the metaverse. That's a much bigger concept, but that is a very big opportunity for us, and we have a long-term vision on how to execute on the metaverse.
Okay, thank you for the introduction. My next question would be, what kind of items will be NFT? But you already answered it. It's everything, right?
Everything, yeah, pretty much everything in the game.
Okay, and okay. My next question is about the chain. You are using Solana, right? And here in my channel, I'm a big fan of Solana. I always talk about Solana. I think it will be, it's already a big thing, right? But maybe it can be the next trend, maybe as important as Polkadot was some months ago. And I'd like to understand more why build in Solana ecosystem, and how the people will make the transaction in Solana. Are you worried about being built in Solana because the people don't know yet, right? It's just a matter of time, but yet the people don't know how to use Solana wallets or this kind of thing, most of the people. And how you guys think is gonna be how you gonna handle with this challenge?
Yeah, there's some great questions. Let me start with why Solana. Now, I think your assessment is accurate. We're already seeing the momentum building in the Solana ecosystem. We're seeing tremendous growth in projects that are developing now on Solana. We started talking to them in September, October of last year about the concept of Star Atlas. So it sounds crazy, but just over the last 6 months, to see how much the ecosystem has evolved is just really incredible. So we were most interested, first and foremost, in being able to deliver this AAA quality gaming experience, which I didn't mention, by the way, but we are building this in Unreal Engine 5 when that comes out. So you're going to get this cinematic quality experience when you're playing the game. It's going to be VR enabled, so it will look and feel like you are legitimately just traveling in space and navigating the stars. So in order to create a product that lives on chain of that caliber, we need a high degree of scalability and low transaction costs. And so as we were conducting our market research and assessment of various layer ones, Solana seemed to solve this problem the best, right? So currently the network is capable of greater than 50,000 transactions per second throughput. It has sub-second finality, on average 400 millisecond to settle a transaction, which once again, important for gaming. If you're a gamer, the thing that will irritates you the most is lag, right? That will get you killed faster than anything else. So we need low latency and then low transaction costs. So Solana transaction costs are in the neighborhood of 1/100th of a penny per transaction. So when you're thinking about recording state changes across a universe, across millions of potential players, all recording transactions on chain at the same time, we needed that scalability and we needed the low transaction costs, right? This doesn't work on Ethereum, because the fee to record every state change would be so significant that we would be bankrupt in a day.
I can imagine. Yeah.
So that was the first part. The second part was just, the team. These guys are high pedigree, come from great backgrounds in technology, working with companies like Qualcomm, literally working on chip design for parallelization of processes, right? And so they've essentially taken that experience and implemented that into the protocol and the consensus mechanism that underlies Solana. So that was 2. 3 was, as I mentioned, the ecosystem, just seeing the people that were building there. There's a lot of innovation. We saw some immediate partnership potential, and we've already been working with a number of the founders of those projects to integrate various aspects. And then finally, a part that was maybe not as quantifiable, but very important was just the people within the network that they were associated with. So, for example, in our case, we were able to close a seed round with the team behind FTX, Alameda Research, and Project Serum. Now, Project Serum is, decentralized organization. It's not entirely run by FTX, but they are kind of leaders of the protocol. So having the ability to integrate decentralized exchange like Serum directly into the game as a baseline tool set was very powerful for us. Plus, that group in particular has large reach. So it's helped us a lot with our marketing efforts. Now, in terms of the latter question of, do we see a challenge in getting adoption because it's on Solana? The reality is it doesn't matter what protocol we're on, because by and large, we are targeting the mainstream gamer. Right, we're not targeting the crypto enthusiast. We're not targeting the blockchain gamer who already has some comprehension on how these things function. Of course, we want those people playing the game as well, and we are marketing to those people today because they're the ones that will be able to onboard into the game quicker than anyone else. But when you're talking about the 2.7 billion people around the world that play games, or even greater than that, when we talk about the metaverse concept and the potential of this game to be transformative, literally every person in the world might have an interest in joining the Star Atlas metaverse. Well, most of those people don't know anything about crypto, right? So we know that we have this burden of educating people regardless. We're going to have to teach people how to get into crypto, and it doesn't matter what chain we onboard them to. If we're producing the educational material, then we should be able to make that a more seamless transition. So, and then there's some great tools, final point, some great tools already in development like Wormhole, which is available to developers. There's just no public front end to it, but Wormhole is a bridge between Ethereum and Solana. So people will be able to move assets from Ethereum to Solana seamlessly, including NFTs, right? So currencies will go back and forth, and the NFTs.
Okay, nice. I'm not a gamer, but I understand a little bit, and I think for the gamers, what really matters is the number there, right? The number, how to use it, but doesn't matter which chain it is, right?
Exactly.
Okay. I have another question here about come back to the game itself. The token will be needed for everything in the game. You need to have the token in order to buy things, or you can use the fiat. You have a kind of fiat on ramp, something like that.
Yeah, within the game, the tokens are absolutely, well, Polis isn't necessary, but there is this big strategic component to it, right? So it's definitely beneficial to own Polis in managing these regions of space, right? To have that influence. If you think about it from kind of a sum zero game, either you have political domination or somebody else does. And if they have it, then they can exert their influence over you, right, and charge you taxes. Or you can make a play with Polis and then exert that influence over other players. So Polis is important in the game for that reason. It also gives you all of those governance rights outside of the game. Now, Atlas it's essential to be able to play. All of your costs, all of your operating costs, all of the fees, and as I said, the rewards within the game, they're all based in Atlas. So that's all within the game universe. Outside of the metaverse, on our marketplace, you'll be able to purchase these assets with an array of different digital currencies. So our marketplace is 100% Solana based, so they will all be Solana assets, but there are, there's already wrapped Bitcoin and actually Ethereum is now native, and USDC and USDT, all of these assets already exist on Solana. And so it's just a question of connecting your Solana wallet to our marketplace, making purchases, and then getting into the game.
Okay. On the white paper, in a part, I will try to share with the people here. You guys say about hybrid space genre. What you guys really means and what it is?
Yeah, so there are a number of different gameplay pillars and different kind of like focuses of the game theme itself. And so we kind of distribute that out. We take influence from a number of different games. So what you're highlighting there, grand strategy, that is the component that includes things like, how do you attack other players, and also the political influence. Those are all strategic decisions, where you place your land, for example, what areas of space you operate in. Those are all part of the strategic component. Exploration is space exploration. You can just travel around, you can navigate the stars and explore space. You don't actually have to get into any engagements with other players or even with NPCs, non-playable characters. You can just go travel the stars if that's what interests you, right? And then role-playing game, to an extent, it's a role-playing game. We want you to feel like you're living in the metaverse. We want it to be an alternative virtual reality that you can live a second life within. So we combine all of these themes together, and that's why we are a hybrid genre space-based game.
Okay, another thing that I noticed by reading the white paper, you say many times about political things, political control, political influence, political domination. So I think political thing will be very important in the game, right? And what is exactly it is? How is gonna work?
Well, through a number of different mechanisms. The first of which was the one in which I earlier described, wherein players are actually able to, control these regions of space and then impose taxes. That's one of the political components, but also having governance within the game. In fact, our clan system or our guild system for players, we call it a decentralized autonomous corporations, pulling from really the earliest nomenclature in crypto back in the BitShares days. This was a Dan Larimer project, but back in the BitShares days, he came out with the term of a DAC, right? So we're kind of pulling from that and saying that these organizations can actually structure themselves within the game and even leverage political power and hierarchy as a component of how they build out their clan, right? And you can have you can actually have financial requirements as a clan leader to reach certain ranks within the guild, right? So if you're contributing more polis to the clan, or your activity generates maybe some more revenue for the clan, then you can get to a higher rank within the clan. What I do want to point out here is that we actually see the metaverse as a relatively close simulation to reality. And as a result of that, we can actually experiment on a lot of things like economics, for example, social interaction, as well as politics. We think that this is a great test case for how we can effectuate change in the real world, and we're able to test these changes, these modifications to things like politics and economics within the game, and see how it impacts the game metaverse. And then if it's functional there, you can actually implement that into the real world. So again, we can be transformative to the world through playing a video game and use it as a bit of a grand experiment.
So it's really a second life, right? You have everything that you have in real life. You have it there. Pretty amazing.
That's the idea.
Okay, and I know you already talked a little about VR, but I'd like to talk a little more.
Sure.
How exactly is gonna work, and do you think about the VR market as a whole? It will be massive in the future. The people will use it, for example, for gamers, just like they use a controller, or what do you think?
I absolutely think VR is going to be huge in the future. You know, we're already seeing the technology kind of release that allows for even augmented reality experiences, like Google Glass, right? Augmented reality. So you can be walking around in the real world, and you can have this augmented experience to what actually exists there through that interface. In fact, you know, I've mentioned on a few of my calls Shape Immersive, who we've worked with to collaborate on the poster series, The Rebirth Genesis of a Metaverse, which is our 14 poster campaign. They were the team that produced the AR overlay that allowed us to create immersive depth and animation, and this sense of, you know, being in the poster. And we're also working with them for some activations in during Bitcoin Miami. So coming up in about, you know, 5 weeks. Early June, Bitcoin Miami will be there. We'll have a big presence. We're going to have some really cool activations that people can interact with. But without a doubt, I think that AR, VR has a definitive place in the future. Within the game, it's a little too early to speak to exactly how we'll introduce the mechanic, but most likely it's going to be like when you're in the ship, you know, you can have your VR headset on and you can look around and it will look like you're once again just traveling and navigating in space.
Okay, nice. And I'd like to make some question here about the investment. What about the token economics, and why do you think the token can increase its value? Of course, feel free to talk just what you can talk, because in general, team people don't like to talk about the price. They can't talk, right? But
right.
in general terms, just in general terms.
Right. Yeah, it's a very sensitive subject, so we can't really speak to like if the price is going to go up or down. We have a great section in our white paper, though, that lays out the various stakeholders within the ecosystem, and that includes token holders. It includes us as a centralized organization, which is really necessary to develop a game of this caliber. A product like this would not come to fruition if we had a consensus by committee, right? If multiple people were trying to determine how this, in a decentralized fashion, we're trying to determine how we should build the game. So we're a centralized organization. We have the expertise in building out a game like this, and we're going to deliver that to the world. And then the third stakeholder is the gamer. So yeah, this is a great section. Maybe 2 or 3 pages down from this, I want to say maybe 4 pages down from this, we actually break out that stakeholder section. But we have a close synergy with what we consider the decentralized economy and our centralized operations. So we as a company are driven by generating revenue so that we can continue to build the game, right? This is a game that's probably going to cost hundreds of millions of dollars to build, if not billions of dollars. In fact, Epic just received an infusion of cash of $1 billion to focus on the metaverse concept. So this is like really popular right now, the idea. So we know it's going to be very expensive. We need to generate revenue so that we can actually continue building the game. However, we support the token economy through things like buy and burn mechanisms, and as well as various other deflationary mechanics within the game. One of the coolest features that we've introduced or reintroduced is hardcore mode. So in most games today, there's not a high degree of risk, right, if you're playing it. In our game, you can determine what your risk tolerance is. And so when you first land in the game, you land in this safe zone. And we define these as security zones, but you land in the safe zone. You can't be attacked by other players. It gives you an opportunity to learn the controls and learn how to navigate the universe. You can explore out into a medium risk zone, which has slightly higher rewards, but higher risk. Or you can go out into deep space. Now, in deep space, where all of the most valuable minerals are that will allow you to create the best NFTs, mint the best NFTs yourself, it is permadeath. If you get into an engagement with another player and you lose that engagement, your NFT will be destroyed. It will be burned off chain. You will lose that asset. The other player will get to recapture some of that value through salvaging components or modules or ejected crew members, or in some cases, rarely, they'll be able to salvage your hull and then repair that and essentially take your NFT. This creates deflation in the, it creates greater degree of rarity of the existing items because all of these NFTs are issued on a limited basis, right? So every time a ship gets destroyed, the value of that ship that was destroyed gets effectively distributed out across everyone else who owns assets in the metaverse, just as a result of increasing the rarity of every remaining item. And so we can use that mechanic to balance out how often we are issuing new assets to ensure that there is support, that we don't overinflate the economy and decrease the value of every asset in the economy, right? So this is just a kind of formulaic. We need to manage the deflation, destruction versus new asset issuance. And then, as I said, on top of that, we have buy and burn mechanics so that we're kind of perpetually decreasing the amount of supply of assets. So, what will that do with the token price? I can't speak to, but, we're carefully considering these factors. And then one final point I want to make on that is, I just lost it. I just lost the point. I'll probably remember it. We can come back to it.
Okay, no problem, no problem. And just advice for the audience here. By the end, I'm going to choose some questions and make the questions here, right? So you can write down it now, no problem. But I'm going to do the question only by the end of the interview.
I got it.
Going. Yeah.
It came back to me. So once again, the our objective here is not to target the crypto niche. It's to attract this mainstream audience, right? And so, as you can imagine, if we can stimulate demand for this game, if we can get millions of users or potentially billions of users into the game, there's like perpetual demand on the finite supply of assets that exist. So that's for us, it's very important that we're able to continuously attract new players to the game.
Okay. And one more question about the tokens. Why you guys choose to use 2 tokens? Why not one token for everything?
Yeah, we get that question a lot. I mean, they really just have completely independent functions. One of them is currency. It's effectively money in the game. That's Atlas. The other one is governance. It's kind of politics based, right? You don't want to commingle the two. You need a separate currency that people use to make transactions in the game, and then one that is used to determine kind of your political clout, as well as your voting power. So we just don't want to commingle the two concepts, and so that's why there are 2 separate tokens, 2 totally different functionalities, as well as different strategic considerations that need to be undertaken.
Okay. One more question about the tokens.
Sure.
I know also probably you are not allowed to say many things here because it's very sensitive, but during the bear market, do you think the price of the tokens will perform well? And I'm curious about your answer because as you said during all the interview, right, this project is not just for the crypto people. Actually, it's for everyone. And the bear market normally happens only on crypto space. So
that's right.
I don't know what you can share, but
yeah, no, I mean, I think you really just kind of addressed it. We think that we have a nice moat around us because of our robust economic model and because of the diversification in our target audience, the people that we're trying to attract to this, right? So as the crypto market is very momentum based, and so once we get into that bear market, everybody that owns crypto starts dumping their crypto. Once we get into the bull market, a lot more people start buying crypto. So it creates these kind of parabolic moves one way or the other. In our case, we're completely diversified outside of the crypto space exclusively because we have all of these other gamers, right? And we have all of these other people that we're actually attracting to crypto. And in many ways, I actually think that our initiative can create more stability in the crypto markets overall from a macroeconomic standpoint, because we're going to be bringing in, for lack of a better word, new blood. We're going to be bringing new people into the crypto ecosystem regularly. And so those people are, they're not only going to be purchasing assets that we have available, they're going to start exploring the rest of the crypto ecosystem and find things, buy things like Bitcoin or Ethereum or Solana, of course, So once we introduce the idea of crypto to them and the functionality of it, I think it's going to create more demand across crypto overall.
Okay. And one question about DeFi, you already told a little bit, but I'd like to understand more. The DeFi will be integrated directly on the game interface, or how it's going to work, and why did you guys choose Serum?
The DeFi, is that what you said?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, we chose Serum because it was on Solana, for one, and I mean the tool set is great. Our engineers have really enjoyed working with the protocol. The APIs are fantastic. The documentation is fantastic. I haven't looked through it myself, but this is the feedback that I'm getting from them. So I've been building in the space for the last 8 years. This is my second company in the space. We've worked with a number of protocols, and once again, the feedback that we've gotten on Solana is that it is a fantastic protocol to work with, as well as extending that out to Serum. The tool set, the DeFi protocols, will be built directly into the game UI. Now we're launching this as a mini game in either late July or early August. you will be able to participate in various gameplay loops like mining, building space stations, ship configuration tool, but there's also going to be liquidity pools, AMMs, and yield farming directly on the in-browser application. Once we get into the fully immersive 3D version of the game in Unreal Engine, which is sometime next year, you can kind of think of it as like almost going to a real live trading floor. If you think about the New York Stock Exchange, and you see all the traders on the floor that are kind of like yelling at each other and writing things down. We'll have these trading decks throughout the metaverse where you can even like walk up to a terminal and you can start to play around with your DeFi, or we'll have it so you can pull it up on your HUD, make sure that it's convenient and fun. But yeah, I guess I'm going to drop a little bit of a hint here on something that I think is really powerful for the player. Terra Luna is another protocol that I think is very promising. And they've just released something called Anchor, which is kind of it's kind of prime broker, right? So it allows people to borrow based on assets they put on deposit, but it also allows them to generate a consistent minimum 20% per year on their cash deposits. It's a lot. It's strong. You can't get that in any traditional financial institution, right? Your bank's paying you nothing. In fact, after inflation, you lose money by keeping your money in the bank. So Terra is integrating closely with Solana, and so what we want to be able to do is provide our players with access to Anchor through the game, and Anchor interest through the game. So they can actually, if they're earning money, they could even convert, say, Atlas into USDC or UST and deposit that in Anchor and start earning interest on any of the savings that they've earned from the game. So we are just, we're reaching out across all of these different protocols. Anytime there's an innovative tool that we think would be valuable to the player, we're going to find a way to bring that into the game. So as I said, an alternative virtual reality that you can persist within. We want all of your functionality to exist within Star Atlas. You just log in, you have access to all your DeFi. You have access to gameplay. You have access to social events, concerts, right? We can have a concert out in space, and you could fly your spaceship there and view DJ Aoki, right, out in space performing a set. So, yeah, we want to consolidate everything and use the game as the interface for all of this activity.
Well, I'm really impressed with all the things that Star Atlas is going to have. And I'm curious about the thing. How many people do you have? How many people are working on this?
Yeah, I'm really impressed with this number. I don't even know how we did it, but we started in December with just the 4 co-founders, and today we're over 55 people. So a pretty aggressive growth. A lot of that is on the art, design, and product side. A lot of concept artists. This is a very art-heavy game, so we need a lot of resources there. But we've been scaling development, we've been scaling operations, we've been scaling marketing, admin, everything. And the reality is we haven't even dug down into the game developers yet, the people that are capable of working in Unreal Engine. So I would say by the end of the year, we will probably be, over 100 people for sure, maybe 150 people on the team.
100, okay, a lot. So nice. And one question about market thing. How to attract gamers, no crypto people? Of course, you are going to have 2 kind of different markets, right? One it's for crypto people, the other one for gamers. But can you share some kind of the strategy that you guys are going to use?
Yeah, I mean, we look at this from the standpoint of go-to-market strategy and who's our ideal audience. So there are gamers everywhere, right? There's gamers all over the place, and we've just done a lot of research on what the demographics look like and how we can implement a strategy that's attractive to those people. I will say one thing in particular is that the female gamer as a demographic is increasing considerably. It's one of the fastest growing segments of the gaming landscape. So, looking at methods that we can attract female gamers to the game, working with professional gamers or professional esports players to do some live streaming on Twitch, right? And then looking at various markets where gaming in particular is just popular. Asia Pacific is one of our target markets. And, that includes everywhere from Southeast Asia to Singapore to mainland China, Korea, South Korea. So that's one of the areas that we're looking at focusing on, and we have groups that we work with in those areas that understand how to market to that particular demographic. So that's kind of like high level how we're thinking about this, but it's very research oriented.
Okay, interesting that you talked about Asia, because there is a question about a Korean guy right here, but I'm going to read later on. And
Sure.
I'm curious about the beta version. You talked about August, right? You are going to have a kind of a mini game, right?
Right. So building an Unreal Engine takes a long time and it costs a lot of money. So we want to ensure that we are able to deliver some touch points, engagement points with the consumer early. Now, this was it was a challenging decision because we had to allocate resources to this concept of an in-browser mini game. So the decision that we had to make was, do we want to focus entirely on building an Unreal Engine and not have a game for 2 or 3 years, or do we want to build this in-game or this in-browser experience so people can actually start to play and can start to earn off of it? So we ultimately came to the conclusion that something sooner would be better than making everybody wait for a couple of years, especially with the speculation and volatility that occurs in crypto markets. So
Sure.
it's kind of a light version of the game. It's not fully immersive. It's not VR, but it is going to be fun. A good game will be addictive. You'll want to come back to it every day. And then on top of it, we build in the financial incentives so that there's actually rewards in place just for playing.
Of course, it is not the game, the real final version of the game, but it's good because you can get feedback from the people, you can get new ideas, and it's better than just a build thing and don't have nothing, right? You are already building a community around the Star Atlas.
I love that point, by the way. We operate under a model that's called Universal Dream Management. And really all that means is that we are introducing features kind of rapidly, right? At sprints over time, we're introducing new features. We're getting community feedback. We're analyzing that feedback. We're incorporating their feedback into continuous development and then producing new features based on that feedback. So we want our user to feel like they are helping us build this game because they are literally helping us build this game. So it's continuous engagement and communication and listening to people. And
Cool.
if you go into any of our community channels like Discord or Telegram, you will see that we are highly active there, responding and listening to what people are asking us to build. It's important to us. Now, we still have the roadmap ahead of us. We know what we want to build, but your feedback is important. So, and we are listening.
So nice, very cool. And about the token, do you have a date already about the IDO and where it's going to be held?
Yeah, we haven't released any information about where we're hosting. Again, we have some great connections, so it's going to be distributed out across a couple of platforms. But the token generation event IDO will take place when we launch the mini game. So right now we're targeting July 24th, which means we might host the sale for a week or 2 weeks in advance of that. But it just depends on when we're ready for full production deployment of the mini game, and we will do the token sale a couple weeks in advance of that, so that people have the assets to be able to purchase. They have the crypto to be able to purchase assets from us, because there are two immediate points of utility for both tokens, in that spending Atlas or Polis gives you a 33% discount when buying new NFTs from us on the marketplace. So if you want to buy a ship from us and you use Atlas, you'll get a 33% discount on that purchase. And if you're purchasing crew members or land and you spend Polis, you get a 33% discount on those new NFTs from us as a company, not from peer-to-peer transactions, but from us as an entity.
Okay, before the bridge will be done, the token will be in Solana or in ETH, the first version?
Entirely Solana.
Entirely Solana. Okay. Okay. So you guys also are going to listing, or are thinking to list that in a SEX, right? Centralized exchange.
We do.
Okay. Okay. And okay, let's go here to the Q&A. I will choose a question right here about this Korean guy right here. Can you see the question, Michael?
I do see it. I do see it.
Okay. Star Atlas is expected to receive tremendous attention in Korea when it releases. Which languages are supported by Star Atlas?
This is a consideration of ours, and so on the Unreal version of the game, when we roll that out, we will have support for 3 languages. I don't know. We haven't determined exactly what those languages will be, but we're planning for support for at least 3 languages, and we will be working on translating that content into multiple languages, because again, this is a product that's for the world, and we want it to be as accessible as possible to everyone. So we're not going to stick to English, I will tell you that, but I can't tell you what language we will have support for yet, but certainly would anticipate to have some Asian language support, just not sure on which ones yet.
Okay, we have another question here. So you can see space as land in the real world. You own it when you buy it. Can other people only buy or borrow your space, or also claim, attack your owned space? This question was made by Pimons.
Yeah, good question. Let's see, owned by it. Other people can buy and borrow. So first and foremost, once again, one of the benefits of having assets that live on chain as NFTs is that, and because we've created the NFT marketplace, you are able to sell these assets between players on a peer-to-peer basis. So yes, you can exchange them with other people. Depending on where you're at in space, which one of those security zones, people can attack your owned space. In the medium risk zone, for example, somebody can attack your mining equipment and take it offline. Now there's once again a strategy play there, in that the resources across the metaverse are finite in supply. So if you take somebody else's mining equipment offline, you're actually able to mine a greater proportion of that finite resource through the through taking them offline. So that's medium risk zone. If you're in deep space and you have a space station and it gets attacked and destroyed, once again, that is just, it's a permanently destroyed asset. Now space stations will be very expensive, so you want to make sure that you have proper protection and shields and defense on any assets that you have in deep space. But yes, they can be attacked.
Oh, nice. Another question here. The question was made by Alexander. Sorry for the pronunciation. What will be the mining to Atlas routes? People mining research exchange, then for Atlas through a player-driven exchange, or simple affixed by game radio like one Arrow, one Atlas?
Okay, so there's kind of 2 components here. One, you will be able to, the mining process is to create and mine ore and minerals. The gameplay loop there is that you can refine these minerals over time. It takes a little bit of time, but you can refine it up to alloys and metals and other material inputs that can ultimately be used to craft your own NFTs. Now, these resources are distributed across the entire metaverse. So you might need carbon fiber, but you can only produce steel, right? What you can do through our marketplace is find somebody who has produced carbon fiber and either wants to sell that for Atlas, which you can then buy from them using your Atlas, or you could even just do an exchange. Say, I'll trade you X amount of steel for Y amount of carbon fiber. Now, part of the inflation schedule, the inflation strategy on the Atlas that we release into the game is how the player would be able to sell that directly back to us. So if you just want to mine ore, you don't want to refine it, you don't care, although it gets more valuable the more you refine, you can take that and exchange it with us, and there will be a fixed value on that. So 2 different routes you can take. But yeah, the idea, I think, by and large, is that the benefits get better and better over time as you improve the kind of the status of your equipment. So what we really anticipate most people doing is creating maybe like a small mine, generating ore off of that, converting that to Atlas, and then reinvesting that Atlas back into the game so that they can upgrade their equipment, right? And as you get bigger and bigger, you're able to then extract more resources and therefore extract more value. So the question is one of kind of a compound return versus a flat return. I think we all know the power of compounding, right? And the
Yes.
power of exponential moves. So it makes sense to reinvest in the short term back into your equipment so that you can get those multiplied returns later. So that's really how we see it being executed. I guess we'll see though once we deploy.
Okay. One more question here. Has the project been audited?
Well, we don't have any really like functional smart contracts that are not, I don't want to say boilerplate, but the protocol that we're using right now is Serum for our implementation of the marketplace. And so those contracts that we're using, that code has been audited. We haven't deployed any of our own smart contracts yet. When we do, they will be audited, not only by third parties, but we also have the full support of both the Serum and Solana team to review the code that we're publishing. On top of that, we have some fantastic engineers on the team. One in particular, his name is also Michael. He even won one of the hackathons for some products or project that he launched and participated in that hackathon. So we have guys with experience building on Solana already that are on our team.
So nice. And I think that's the end. Do you have any final thoughts that I'd like to share?
I just want to, we didn't touch on it, but you know, for anyone who's not aware, we do have this digital art collection that we released. The initial launch date was just last Saturday, just 4 days ago. This is a 14 poster collection. The sales take place over 14 weeks. And we have a really unique pricing model there, but there's also some fantastic advantages to getting into, yeah, perfect, thank you. Fantastic advantages to getting in on these posters. Yeah, this is the best chart. I just produced a video to explain this, but effectively what we have here are open edition sales each week, which means uncapped supply. We will sell as many as people want to purchase, but only within that sale window. So for the first 3 posters, they're going to be for sale for 7 days. And as I said, the price does double on each. So it starts at $64 for the first poster. It goes up to $128, $256. By the time you get to the 13th poster, it is $262,000. The total poster price is $525,000. That's to collect the entire set. However, do not be discouraged if you can't purchase the entire poster series. There's a reason why we have multiple layers of tier rewards built in here. So even if you're purchasing the first poster, you're actually going to get something like $58 worth of in-game assets that will be playable when we launch. That includes your land claim, it includes your mining rig, it includes a drill, it includes an orbital space station, it includes a Pierce X4 bike. So everything you need to start playing the game can be obtained simply by purchasing the first poster. Now, once the sale window closes, we will never sell those posters again. So the only way that somebody who comes in say week 5 or 6 can purchase those is to purchase it from someone else on the peer-to-peer marketplace. Now, as the reward tiers go up, obviously the rewards get better, but we wanted to make sure that this would be approachable by everyone. Everybody can get a piece of Star Atlas. Everybody can get access to the game by just buying one poster. Plus, you get the poster, you get the collectible. You know, this is a moment in time. This is history in the making, and so everybody can get involved on Star Atlas just with a $64 poster. Now, sure, if you have $500,000 to spend on a collection, you also get an enormous amount of in-game assets valued at something like $325,000 in game assets. And we've also collaborated with Uniquely, which is an NFT fractionalization platform, to whitelist all of our products. So if you collect the entire collection, or even some subset of the collection, you will be able to put those assets on Uniquely, fractionalize them, and sell your own individual shares to people who want exposure, who want to say, I own a piece of the entire Rebirth campaign. So this is going on right now. There's still a couple of days left to get poster number 1. Every week on Saturday, we'll be launching a new poster. So we hope you guys will follow along. The posters themselves, really beautiful art. As I mentioned earlier, we've partnered with Shape Immersive to create the AR experience on top of that, and then partnered with some mainstream musical talent to create audio soundscapes on every one of these posters. So on the first track, it was actually Blondish, and then we had Jason Silva, who performed a voiceover on it. So it's really fun experience. We're getting immensely positive feedback on people's experience with them, and as I said, making Star Atlas history right now.
Thank you so much for coming here, Michael. Do you have time for one more question, or
sure?
It's not possible.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
One more question from Alexander. How will the in-game reward system work on distributing rewards between players under Alliance?
Yeah. I can't say that this is fully refined yet. We still have to work on this, but this kind of goes back to my earlier point about how we can incorporate Polis into that process. So we want to allow the guilds to structure their own reward system for their clan members. So we don't want to predetermine that. We want you to create this decentralized autonomous organization, and then you manage it in whatever way you feel is most appropriate. So we're going to introduce some flexibility in how that happens. So with respect to distributing amongst the guild. The way I think it will probably work is that part of your earnings are essentially going to go to a clan treasury, which will allow that clan to go out and purchase more assets and then increase the power and presence of the guild. So, but really wide open right now. Key point is that it will be determined by the clan members and clan leadership.
Okay, okay. Well, that's all. Thanks so much for coming, Michael. It was a big pleasure and an honor for me, really. My first guest is the CEO of Star Atlas. I couldn't be more grateful, and thanks so much.
Hey, we need to make an NFT of this video then, since it's your first, it's my first interview with you, and we'll auction it off for charity.
Oh, please, it would be nice.
Think about it.
Okay, okay. And thanks so much. This streaming has already almost 1 hour, and thanks so much. I know you are a so busy guy. Thank you for your patience here.
This is what I'm here for. So yeah, I really appreciate the opportunity to be on the show. I'm sure we'll do it again, and have a great rest of your day.
You too. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
And guys, I'd like just to remember you, thanks so much for watching, and I'd like to remember you, smash your like if you didn't yet, share this video with your friends if you like it, okay? Subscribe to my channel, and tomorrow at 6 p.m. UTC time, we are going to have another live. And on Friday, I don't have the right time, the exact time right now, but on Friday, I'm going to interview the CEO of Shield Finance, okay? So thank you so much for watching, for coming, and see you guys tomorrow. Bye.